Well, we're going to start with the one story today that's not your Team Blue neighbors having a hissy fit in public. Iran. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Seriously, if you're able to stick around for the rest of the show, just wait until you see how true that sentence is going to become. Most of this show is going to be your leftist neighbors having a hissy fit in public of some sort. But more importantly, we kind of have a big old war going on. Now, before I play you the latest from Trump himself, Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, for some reason, had what I thought was one of the coolest insights over the weekend on the situation with the Iran war, because the Iran war is going to be judged by what is different now that the war's over before when it started. And one of the things that we've seen is that when Iran started lobbing missiles at what used to be their Arab kind of neighbor friendly country-ish. I know there's sort of an ethnic divide and a religious sectarian divide, even though most of their neighbors are all Muslim countries as well. They happen to be the odd man out with the Shia focus. And so they've always had kind of a tense allyship there. They were brought together with OPEC. They were brought together with hating Jews. They were brought together with hating the outside colonizers. We get it. But when they started lobbing missiles at UAE, at Qatar, at Bahrain, at Kuwait, at Saudi Arabia, at Iraq, they've actually pushed these people closer to our side. The United Arab Emirates is now closer with the United States than it is with Iran. And there's no gray area there. So Scott Bessent was pointing that out. That's one big mistake Iran has made.
The economic side in terms of what we've done, and a big mistake that the Iranians made was attacking their GCC neighbors, their neighbors in the Gulf, because we had many very good allies who maybe weren't completely transparent with us on the money, Iranian money that was in their banking systems, all of a sudden became very compliant in terms of being willing to turn over accounts or help us freeze, block accounts. And then the third part was the incredible blockade.
Now, it's going to be frustrating trying to decipher all this info yourself after the fact, because I said this when the Iran war started, and you know this is so true. No matter what happens from here on out, the left is going to say the Iran war was a terrible, embarrassing failure. The right's going to say it was amazing. Trump's going to say this is the greatest deal in the history of all deals. I know, you know it. Everybody knows it. Believe me. You know that's what he's going to say. And so you're going to be left to pick through the pieces yourself and have to make your own opinion here. And trust nobody when it comes to reporting on the Iran war. That includes your own side. But Trump was asked about that yesterday. He was being interviewed by his daughter-in-law. That's kind of weird. But anyway, it was on Fox News over the weekend. Two clips from that.
We wipe out their military. We wipe out their Navy, their Air Force, their anti-aircraft. We wipe out everything. We wipe out their leadership, and then we wipe out their leadership a second time. And then at 2.5 times, we're dealing with the other half. And by the way, they're much more reasonable, and you could say that's regime change. But I said, so they would then raise the white flag of surrender. We give up to the great American military, the most powerful military. We give up, we give up, we give up. The New York Times would say, Iran has fought bravely and has defeated the United States of America. I mean, the coverage is so bad. You have a big win in a battle, and they say you lost. You knock out their entire Navy, and they say their Navy's doing fantastically. No, it was defeated, totally defeated. And they said, it's just a terrible thing for our country. And, you know, to really be great, you need a fair media. And we don't have a fair media.
We certainly don't. But the question that you're asking, the same question I'm asking, is this going to be over soon? I would like to get the uranium. If we don't, I'd rather it just be over. I'd rather this not drag out. I was told there would be no more forever wars. And I can't claim that this is a forever war, seeing as how it's been, 3 months? But at some point, we need to cut this cord and just get the heck out of there. Donald Trump is explaining his Democrats line, which we all know what it means. There was a little bit of a fuss because this is his new nickname. He's good at nicknames. Little Marco, Lion Ted, Pocahontas, all that fun stuff. It's just one of his tricks. It's his branding technique. Well, in this one in the Democrats, he had put that out on True Social that they're a bunch of Democrats. And the never Trumper derangement syndrome addled critics were saying he misspelled dumb and Democrats. Dumb has a B in it, and he spelled it Dumocrats. It's like, bro, number one, he made up a word. He can spell it however he wants. And you don't have to answer all criticism, but he answered that criticism. Isn't that how petty has our world become?
I will always call them until they straighten up Democrats, because they want women to be put in danger by having men play in women's sports. Think of it. They want the transgender mutilization of your children. They want open borders. We want open borders. They want high taxes. You know, they voted against the tax cuts. They voted against no taxes on tips. They voted against no taxes on Social Security. They voted against no taxes on overtime. These have been so important. But the Democrats voted against all of that. But we call them Democrats, and it works out well because I take the word dumb, take the B off, because most people don't know that, you know, dumb ends with a B, but most people don't know. And all I do is I switch the E with a U, and you have a Democrat. And I came up with that by watching Hakeem Jeffries, because he's a dumb person. And I said, he's really dumb. I said, wait a minute, he's a Democrat. So I think it works. I don't know that it's going to be as good as Pocahontas or fake news or so many of the others that we've come up with, but I mean, I'm going to just call them Democrats.
No, it's not going to be as good as Pocahontas or fake news. And I think everyone understands that there's a B. And most people don't know that. No, I think most people do. Not the people that answer Garrett's World when they get it wrong who's the vice president of the country, but most of us. Now, you know what? Maybe he does need to explain that for a lot of people out there. I mean, you were probably just this weekend sitting at a intersection, and the guy in front of you in the right-hand lane has his right turn signal on, but he's just waiting, even though it's a red light. You're like, you know you can go. That's who didn't know there was a B on Democrats. All right, here's a fun one. Jonathan Capehart, MSNBC, or MSNO, whatever they're calling it now. They were talking about Iran, and it's sort of, the conversation dives bombs because the Jill Biden interview came up, and you're going to get to hear a guy get all upset. It's like, I can't believe they're giving Donald Trump a pass when Joe Biden got so much scrutiny on his mental health. What?
Joe Biden's health has been litigated up and down, even when he was in the White House, which it stands in stark contrast to what is happening today with the current sitting president, who went in for yet another physical at Walter Reed. He's only been in the job for 18 months. 3 visits to Walter Reed. Why are we, as a profession, not talking as extensively and exhaustively and urgently about the health of the sitting president of the United States when we did that to Joe Biden for 4 years?
You know, if he didn't go to Walter Reed, he'd get criticized. He hasn't even been tested. He refuses to test. Why would he refuse a test if he didn't know that he had problems? Now he actually gets tested 3 times. Why would he get tested 3 times if he's so sure he doesn't have problems? Oh, yeah. Biden, we never talked about Biden's mental health. Yeah, we or y'all didn't. Y'all covered for it. No, he's sharp as a tack. There's no scrutiny there. He's sharp as a tack. The best Biden ever.
Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth.
Oh, F me.
This version of Biden is the best Biden ever.
That's great scrutiny there, Jonathan Capehart. Yeah, y'all are really all over that one. Coming up next, former Black Hawk helicopter pilot Darren Gobb's going to be on the James Show to tell you what's really going on in Iran without the ridiculous spin. I'm James Parker. This is the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, Texas homeowners, we got some terrible weather over the weekend again. If you have any doubts about your roof, you want to go to blueribbondfw.com and schedule a free inspection. James Parker here for Blue Ribbon Roofing. You know, I had him come to my house. John Hopkins himself. You hear him in the commercials. He got on my roof, walked all over the thing, took some pictures, told me about it, and then gave me a nice little education on shingles and options and colors and whatnot. And so it didn't cost me anything. Won't cost you anything. It's not a joke. Schedule a free inspection at blueribbondfw.com. And it's not just for your house. If you got some hail damage on your commercial building, if you're worried about getting help with the insurance claims, they can do that. They really specialize in hail damage. There's a lot they can do for you. But it starts with you going to the website, blueribbondfw.com. All right, let's try and find out what's really going on with the Iran war. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Your home for Mark Lee Van Camp and Robbins on right before the James Show, 11 to 2. To give me an assist, returning to the James Show quite a bit lately since the Iran war started. Darren Gobb's back on, former Black Hawk helicopter pilot, author of Veritas Vincent. First off, Darren, we both kind of speculated on previous James shows that there was going to be some more military action. This ceasefire's not holding. And I think we saw a lot over the weekend. What did you see over the weekend? Well, Darren Gobb, do we know who we're talking to? Well, Donald Trump had said over the weekend that he is a little more optimistic about working with the military as opposed to the former regime, which I assume he means Ayatollahs or maybe Iranian Guard Corps. You know, Revolutionary Guard Corps. And I guess there's a difference there. Is there really much of a difference between the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps and the rest of the military? Is there like a conventional military that's separate from that? All right. Good stuff there. Darren Gobb, how do they find your work online? Good stuff. Darren Gobb, thank you for being on the James Show again. Coming up next, you're going to hear an interview with the United States Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Scott Turner. And we'll talk about all the regulations and laws and things that he's fighting to make your housing costs a little more affordable. I'm James Parker. This is The James Show on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. It's not every day I get to do an interview with a cabinet member from the Trump administration. All right, now welcoming to the James Show, your Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Scott Turner. Welcome to the James Show. First off, what does the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development even do?
Well, James, it's great to be with you. And, that's a great question. A lot of people, to your point, don't know what HUD is. HUD is Housing and Urban Development. It was started in 1968 during the LBJ administration to build urban development and renewal. And so we are the agency that is over housing, in particular Section 8 and public housing in our country, also disaster recovery. And we are part of the homelessness initiative in our country to eradicate and get people off of the streets. And so the secretary obviously is the steward of HUD, the leader of HUD. Part of that is building a great team across 15 program offices, 10 regional offices, 64 field offices, and about 5,800 employees with an $80 billion budget to make sure that we're fulfilling the mission of HUD, and that is to provide affordable, sustainable, and safe housing for people in America, and also to increase the amount of people that can achieve the American dream of home ownership. And so my job is to steward over that mission and to make sure that we are helping people to get off of government subsidies for a lifetime and live a life of self-sustainability. That's kind of a 30,000-foot view.
Well, fitting in with the Trump administration promise of smaller government and deregulation, I know there hasn't been any giant sweeping legislation passed, but what deregulation or changes have y'all been able to make without any help from Congress?
Well, great. I'm glad you asked that. The number one issue in our country when you talk about housing affordability and increasing the supply and bringing the cost down of building homes is indeed the regulatory environment, heavy-handed bureaucratic regulations. And that starts at the federal level. One of the first acts that we did was take down the affirmatively furthering fair housing rule that made HUD literally a national zoning board that essentially told localities that you will not receive HUD funding if you do not comply with the zoning desires of Washington. And what this did is really put burdensome heavy-handedness on localities. It did not build one home. It made it harder to build, harder to buy. And so we tore this rule down to restore that flexibility back to localities. Another couple of things that we've done, we just released our best practices report. And what this is a list of recommendations through our research, through our public PD&R group at HUD. These are best practices for states and local governments to look at their regulatory environment and see where they can ease the regulatory environment to make it better for builders to build, developers to develop it, and also for home buyers to buy. So you're talking about permitting fees. You're talking about technology that's archaic, bringing that into, the 21st century. You're talking about things that cause duplicative steps when it comes to building. And so this best practices report is a recommendation for all of these cities across the country to take inventory and see how they can help builders to build. We need about 7 million units of housing in our country, be it multifamily, single family, manufactured housing, duplex. And so having said that, we want to make sure that we're raising the supply, bringing the cost down. And the way you do that is to deregulate across our country.
All right. We're talking with Scott Turner. He is the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. He's in Trump's cabinet. But let's bring it back home here, Scott. Where'd you go to school?
I went to J.J. Pierce High School in Richardson.
Hey, just thought I would save that for halfway through the interview. All right. So talk about your journey from being just a guy down the block to in the cabinet at the White House.
Well, James, I'm glad you asked that. Man, I started off as a dishwasher at Spring Creek Barbecue. When I was 16 years old, right there in Richardson, Texas. And I went from Spring Creek Barbecue to the University of Illinois. And then from Illinois, I got drafted in 1995 by the Washington Redskins and spent 9 years in the NFL with Washington, San Diego, and Denver. Upon retiring from the NFL, I served in the House of Representatives here in Texas in the great District 33 of Northeast Collin County and all of Rockwall County. That seat is different now. But it was a new seat then, and so I was humbled to represent that, and then joined the first Trump administration under my dear friend, Dr. Ben Carson, who was the secretary at that point. And my job was to lead the Opportunity Zone Initiative. And then I came back home and worked with a wonderful company called JPI, which is a world-class development company here in Dallas. And I served there on their leadership team and learned so much about construction development, the beauty of it, and really what the hard part of development, like regulation. And then I was appointed by President Trump and confirmed on February 5th of 2025 to serve as Secretary of HUD.
Yeah, we'll overlook the Redskins part, but other than that,
No, you can't overlook that, man. You can't overlook that.
all right. You know what? If it got him to where he's at, we'll give even the Redskins a round. It'll be a light round. All right, Scott Turner, you talked about what you guys have already accomplished at Housing and Urban Development. What new projects are you working on? What are you planning on accomplishing in the next couple of years?
Well, you know what, James, we will continue to be very focused on housing affordability and the deregulation to make it easier for builders to build. But also, we just made an announcement a few weeks ago about how our FHA mortgage insurance program, which is the program for first-time home buyers, we helped about last year over 1 million people to afford to be able to buy a home, which half of those are really first-time home buyers. And we just announced that we will, through FHA, begin to take Vantage Score 4.0 and FICO 10T so that we can increase the platform for potential home buyers, whereby they can use rental history as something to increase their credit so that they can potentially afford to buy a home. Now, the rigor, the sternness of the qualification is still there. These are still credit-worthy buyers, trustworthy buyers, but what we want to do is increase that platform so that more people can be able to afford to buy a home. Also, the president just signed 2 new executive orders a few weeks ago, one to remove the barriers to building affordable housing, and also to increase the competition in the mortgage credit space, to bring back the hometown lender or the community bank back to the mortgage industry. You know, Dodd-Frank really destroyed that and stifled the smaller lenders to come back to that field. So this new EO will bring that competition back so that, you know, first-time home buyers and low to moderate income people have a shot, you know, at getting a competitive mortgage to be a homeowner. So those things, amongst many others, we've been working on, but deregulation, housing affordability, and self-sufficiency are things that we're laser focused on.
Well, Scott Turner, we have some controversies here locally in North Texas where we found out that FHA loans were being given to illegal immigrants and also to H-1B holders. There's not a whole lot of scrutiny on who's getting government-backed loans there. Is there any way you could sort of cut that off and get that addressed from D.C.?
Sure. Well, and when you talk about the FHA mortgage going to illegal aliens, we did several months ago, we closed that loophole, which was really during the Biden administration, a blind eye was turned. And you had illegals that were qualifying for FHA mortgages. So we rescinded that and closed that loophole. Also, the mixed status family loophole, we closed that because the American taxpayer dollars are meant to go to American people and American people only. So we have been laser focused on that and unapologetic about hardworking taxpayer money in America going to America citizens. And so, yes, there is something we can do. We have done it and will continue.
All right, good stuff. Nice to have you on the show. Good to finally meet you, Scott Turner, Housing and Urban Development Secretary. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, James.
All right, it's not every day we get a cabinet member on the James Show, and a local guy at that. Coming up next, do we have to fight at graduation ceremonies? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Maybe we should just put a boxing ring at graduations. You know, like if you have a beef, just go over to the ring. We'll get you some gloves. You can duke it out and come back. And you'll probably be seated in time for your kid's name to be called. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Welcome to The James Show. I think you know what this has been inspired by. You've probably seen the video. I don't know. Some of you people don't have social media. But if you have social media, you've seen on your phones, there's been this trend where graduations get a little more kinetic than you're used to. You know, graduations are something that are kind of out of control for about 4 different reasons these days. Number one is we have too damn many of them. Hey, your kid's graduating kindergarten. No. No one's graduating kindergarten. What, you're going to first grade? So you're not even leaving the school. You're just going, what, across the hall? No, not every step along the educational attainment ladder necessitates an entire ceremony or a graduation. I mean, can we stop celebrating the most mediocre of accomplishments possible? What, you know your basic colors and you can count to 10? Amazing. So it's gotten out of hand that way. It's gotten out of hand with the graduation parties too. It's gotten out of hand with the length of the ceremonies, although what are you supposed to do if 3,000 kids go to your high school? I don't have a solution for that. And I don't know if there has been more fisticuffs at graduation ceremonies in this current generation, or we just all have cell phones in our pockets that can record these things. But I don't like. There's a few of these that happen. I just can't play them because there's a bunch of cussing in them. But did you see this? There was one in Mesquite this weekend. There was a real bad one up in Virginia. That when I say it was like the battle scene from Braveheart. The only thing you missed is the race of the people involved in the availability of kilts. There were fewer kilts in the melee that happened in Virginia. And I don't have a good answer for this. I'm not saying there's this is what we do to solve it. I don't think there is something we can do to solve that. But there's a lot going on in the education system that's starting to get noticed. And for you and me, it's like, finally. But now the outside world's starting to look at some of these like test scores and the regulations and the systems. Bill Maher was talking about that on his show on Friday. Did you know Mississippi gets better educational results than California?
Did you know that a black fourth grader in Mississippi is 2.5 times as likely to be proficient in math and reading as one in California? Mississippi is kicking our ass in education, and for way less money. We're 37th in fourth grade reading. They're 9th.
Hey, don't forget the racial angle. I thought Mississippi was supposed to be racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe. I thought they were supposed to be a bunch of tobacco spitting, cross burning, sheet wearing, hate filled murderers, foaming at the mouth, white bigots. Would that be the case? Considering that their education system is doing a better job with their black neighbors than the ones in Cali who are supposedly the empathetic ones. Yes, love Trump's hate. We're the good guys, not like those evil racists on Team Red. Well, it seems like we're doing a better job educating their children, so what's your response to that? And it's not, California likes to brag about how they've got all these policies and we're a bunch of flyover country, window-licking mouth breathers. We're beating them at everything. Do you know Texas is beating the snot out of California at their own game? Several of them.
Texas is kicking our ass in green energy. The average time to get solar panels connected there was 3 to 4 months. About 1,000 days faster than it took me. Remember when I was trying to get my solar hooked up? It would have been quicker to build a windmill. Texas has passed California in solar and blows away California when it comes to wind and energy storage. How does a state with no pro-climate policies produce better climate results than a state where here, even though we have so much better stickers on our bumper Prius, bumper stickers on our Priuses, you know what I'm saying. I'll tell you why. Because you're allowed to build there. Because every third person in Texas isn't someone whose job it is to make sure nothing gets done. Democrats, these are your issues. Education, race, the environment. And I say this with love. You're losing to the Waffle House car on the lawn states.
And that's with Fort Worth ISD. That's with Lake Work ISD. There was the principal that got in trouble in Fort Worth 2 weeks ago or so. She's one of these Sharia principals, loves the hijabs, hates Christians, lies to you about what Sharia law is. And there was another principal who I think he may be getting reassigned pretty soon because he was a speaker at the oligarchy rally. Remember when Bernie Sanders and AOC last year spent over $600,000 on private jets to come tell you to fight the oligarchy? Like the entire bill for that whole tour of speaking engagements was in the millions and millions of dollars. Like, how could you pull this off if you're not one of the oligarchs? But we had a Fort Worth principal there who was starting off saying, yeah, we're on stolen land of the whoever's. This is in Dickey's Arena just months ago.
I want to start by acknowledging that we are land ceded and shared by the Germanos, Tolokani, Kickapoo, Comanche, and Wichita nations.
Yeah.
Buenas tardes, Fort Worth. My name is Ernie Morán, and I'm the child of immigrants, a graduate of TCU, a husband and father of 3, and a public school teacher. And I'm here because what's happening in our schools and in our democracy matters. Shout out real quick to United Fort Worth, Terror for Change, and the Texas Organizing Project, my man Dr. Jared Williams, and of course, Panther City's very own, the grandmother of Juneteenth, Miss Opal Lee.
All right, fire him. Fire him. Listen, if you are subscribed to the most deadly failed ideology mankind has ever come up with, that's communism/socialism. If you're signing on to the ideology that was the backing of the USSR that killed 30 million of its own citizens, the Chinese Communist Party, which killed 50 million of its own citizens, which did genocides in North Korea and Cambodia and wherever Idi Amin was, and Ethiopia, basically everywhere it's been tried. It's been the most pitiful, failed, soul-crushing, murderous, bloodthirsty policy the world has ever known, beyond what the Democrats did with the transatlantic slavery. Do we not have any principles whatsoever? We wouldn't let him be a school principal if he was a Nazi, would we? Rightfully so. That's a terrible ideology, full of hate and rage and piles of bodies. Communism's worse. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, the protests in Newark, out of hand. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Well, hey there, fellow Texans. Why can't so many of our Team Blue neighbors behave no matter what the scenario is? If there's a riot going on, if things are catching fire in public, if there's a bunch of public brawling going on, it's some flavor of leftist. And I'm almost glad that these stories were happening at the same time over the weekend so I can escape the very eye-rolling, pedantic, trite claims of racism on my part. Because I brought up in the last segment how we've seen so many of these videos from graduations turning into the battle scene from Braveheart. Bunch of fights at graduations, and then the viral videos you get passed around, and it feels like it's been happening more. Although I'm sure we don't keep a good FBI database on graduation fistfights. But elsewhere in America over the weekend, there was similar battle scene from Braveheart activities. Most notably at Newark, in the ICE facility. Steve, stop that now. Delaney Hall, you remember that, where the congressmen went and they tried to force their way. Well, we have oversight duty from the Constitution. We can go wherever we want. Well, no, you can't just go into a prison anywhere you want. And so they tried to sneak in. One of them got arrested. They dropped the charges, so there was no punishment for breaking the law that you would have gotten punished for. So already they've gotten privileged treatment. But for over a week now, every night at Delaney Hall, there have been ICE protesters. And things get ugly. There have been fireworks go off. There have been people who've been hurt. There have been, like they were showing videos over the weekend. They're throwing water bottles at cops. And there was a phalanx of riot police on horseback. And they're even like beating up the horses. It's like, dude, you're just going to let them punch a horse? Hang on. There's a little chunk here. I can't play a lot of the audio because there's just cuss words all over it. But here's a little. You hear the horses? Anyway, they're fighting with cops on horseback over there. So while the graduation melees happen to skew in one demographic and the ICE protesters happen to skew in a demographic that's of a lighter shade, the one thing they all have in common is if there's someone who's misbehaving and causing a riot and generally a public disturbance, I'm not saying it's always a lefty. I'm not saying there's no such thing as Team Red getting in fistfights or whatever in public. But they are far underrepresented compared to their Team Blue neighbors. Can we just at least agree to that? Here's another ICE protester at Newark. Now, this was recorded by a guy named Nick Sorter. Man, I can't believe this guy's still doing it. Nick Sorter's been beat up a couple times, put in the hospital a couple times for going to these riots and filming people and getting this info out to us. Here's another one where he's back out there again in Newark. Now, here's some death threats. Some protester is talking to an ICE, or not an ICE agent, a riot cop, and he's threatening his family.
I'll kill your whole family! Your whole family's dead! Come on! Children, your wife, all dead! Put it! My boy! I have your face, mother! You're dead! Dead!
Yeah, that's the love Trump's hate crowd, right? Love Trump. Remember you got lectured by that at the halftime Super Bowl? The only thing that can Trump hate is love. The only thing bigger than hate is love. And then the next weekend, I'll kill your family. All your kids, your wife. Why? Because you're hateful. Here's a guy named Ben Leo with GB News, Great Britain News, where he is during the day. Things are calm. There's no riot. There's not a phalanx of riot police or horses. There's no fireworks. No one's screaming. Nothing's on fire. This is during the day when things are calm and there's just people standing around holding signs. He goes up and talks to a few of them, and immediately he gets accused of racism by some. There's a brother there, a black fella, and he's like, "Well, what's racist about it? Well, maybe they're in prison more often because they're committing more crimes." And the second he said that, the whole conversation fell off a cliff. Check this out.
20 times more likely to commit sexual offences than
the Brits?
Yeah, native Brits.
The Brits that colonized the whole world, you mean? That raped and pillaged the whole world to get the power that they have?
The Brits, yeah.
Yeah, the Brits that did that?
Yeah.
And you guys have the audacity to say that the Afghans and Somalis did what?
Well, it's not audacity, it's just a fact.
Is it not a fact?
Data.
Is it not a fact that y'all colonized the world through rape, murder, and pillaging? Right or wrong?
That was true, yeah.
All right, then. So what are you talking about?
The British Empire.
So what are you talking about then?
Hey,
how dare you? How dare you?
Why are you shouting?
What are you? Because you're. That's why. How dare you? You're talking facts? Let's talk facts.
In my face.
So do something about it.
I'm not.
Do something about it, Brit.
My friend, I'm here.
Do something about it, Brit.
I'm here to ask questions.
How'd you get into this country? You talking about?
I'm here.
How dare you?
Why are you getting so angry?
Because you're a piece. liar.
You know you're
a liar. You're a liar.
Would you like me to show you the
You're a
government
liar,
data?
bro. I just
Am I
asked
shaking?
you.
I'm not shaking.
I just asked you what did the Brits do to have the power they have? Answer that question.
Oh,
Answer
sorry, man.
that question. Answer that question. How did the Brits get their power?
Can you stop spitting in my face? What was the question?
He's speaking.
Why are you shaking? Why are you getting so angry?
Because drone is going. I'm holding everything back not to break your jaw.
Well, you can do it. You would get arrested.
I don't give bro.
You get arrested.
I don't give a
This doesn't make your argument
I
look
came out here for
This doesn't make your
I
argument
came
look
out
very
here
good.
for
Came out
I
here
didn't come out here to talk.
for violence.
Yes.
Well, there you go.
Yes.
That's the left. That is the
Who started
degenerate,
it?
violent
Who started
left.
it?
You give facts.
Who started
He
it?
came all the way over.
Who
here
started
just
it?
to start shit, didn't you?
Who started
You
it?
give facts. You give
Who
data,
started it?
and they get violent.
Hey,
This is
why
what
don't
you
you
see on the
finish
streets
it?
of Newark Club.
You know, I've noticed that you've won the argument when the guy on the other side is just screaming the same thing over and over. Who started it? Who started it? Who started it? Who started it? And I also love the comeback where the guy says facts like, "Hey, these immigrants in my country are in prison more often because they're far more likely to commit rape and sexual assault." Oh yeah, well, who colonized the entire world by raping and pillaging? It's like, okay, let me get this straight. Because the British Empire had some colonies in the 17 and 1800s, then it should be ollie ollie oxen free on immigrants raping white chicks in England. Is that your point? Nick Shirley. Yes, that Nick Shirley. Also found a real nice protester in New York City this weekend.
If I showed up to your kid's house with cameras demanding to see the kids, would you think that was creepy?
The point is there was no kids.
No, there was. It was determined that there was actually. So
I never get told. Yes, love Trump's hate, y'all. Remember that. Love Trump's hate. Why are you so hateful? They're so nice. They're so empathetic. They're the party of love, the party of empathy, and you're a hate-filled bigot. Yeah. Coming up next, James Varney from RealClearPolitics.com. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Why can't our lefty friends just behave themselves in public? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. You're home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. And I like it when they do this, too. I'm doing this right now. I'm squishing several stories together and connecting them with just a little strand of yarn here. Because what you've seen in the local news and on your social media feed about the fights at graduations, that's one part of this storyline. The feral protesters that you're seeing outside the ICE facilities in Delaney Hall, New Jersey, where they're attacking police horses. They're doing active death threats. I was playing for you on Friday's show, this lady making some racially insensitive comments toward a ICE guard of Asian descent. So we have racism, we have violence against animals, we have death threats against children. I hope your entire family dies. So they're not getting nearly the attention you would get, because let's go ahead, and I know it's almost exhausting to do this, but imagine if a guy in a MAGA hat chucked a water bottle and hit a police horse. Imagine if there's a guy in a MAGA hat saying what you just heard about the death threats at the ICE facility. I don't know. Did you hear that, or do I need to play it again? Because the Newark protests are ugly, but it's not anything spectacular. It's not anything out of the ordinary. Here's the death threat.
I'll kill your whole family! Your whole family's dead! Come on! Children, your wife, come on! All dead! Touch it! My boy! I have your face, mother! You're dead! Dead!
Yeah, you're dead. Your wife, your children, all dead. Yeah, sweet guy. That's the party of love, party of empathy. But let's not treat these like isolated incidents. Remember last year, about this time, what were we going through? We were going through the great anti-Tesla meltdown of 2025. Because Doge had just happened. Remember, because June of last year. It's June, by the way. It's June of last year. This is when people were keying Teslas and getting caught on camera. This is when crazy people were firebombing Tesla dealerships. Remember that? We have an ongoing, steady stream of violence from Team Blue. And somehow they have the gall to try and reframe this narrative as look out for those MAGA guys. Look out for white rural rage. Was this white rural rage again? I mean, we keep hearing about that over and over. MSNBC, white rural rage, right?
White rural rage. Why are white rural voters a threat to democracy?
I mean, we lay out the fourfold interconnected threat that white rural voters pose to the country. They're the most racist, xenophobic, anti-immigrant, and anti-gay geodemographic group in the country. Second, they're the most conspiracist group. Third, they're also the most strongly white nationalist and white Christian nationalist. And fourth, they are most likely to excuse or justify violence as an acceptable alternative to peaceful public discourse.
So you mentioned a lot.
How can you say that? We're the ones most likely to accept violence as opposed to peaceful public discourse. Look out the window. Everywhere you see a riot, it's not white rural rage. You say what you want. Oh, they're evil, they're racist, they believe in conspiracy theories, they hate women, whatever. At least we can sit through a graduation ceremony. At least we can walk past a Tesla when the owner is of a perceived opposite party and not key it. Remember, when Elon Musk was perceived as a Democrat and was a Democrat his entire life, there wasn't a rash of right-wingers keying Teslas or firebombing the dealerships. It was only when he started identifying as Team Red was he met with violence. And so don't forget, this is not happening in a vacuum. Whether it's the graduation ceremonies, whether it's people shooting at ICE facilities, whether it's someone blocking a highway or blocking an airport, whether it's someone getting stabbed on a train, whether if someone's fighting at the summer jam or the Sunday fun day at the lake, or whether it's at an Airbnb in West Dallas, it's not white rural rage, is it? Is it white rural rage in Newark right now? At the ICE facility, is it white rural rage in New York City where they're doing all the protesting? Do not forget the context when you hear these stories. I feel like that is just super important. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. You know, I figured New York would be happier and they wouldn't be rioting and they wouldn't have any problems. They wouldn't have any big protests now that they're not run by an evil white guy, right? Because Letitia James said that was, one of the big problems with leadership. Previous mayor of New York happened to be black, but the guy before him, the Cuomo guy, he was too male, too pale, too stale. Trump, too male, too pale, too stale. Right, Letitia James?
Stands up to an administration which is too male, too pale, and too stale. Too male, too pale, and too stale. Too male, too pale, and too stale. And we will not go away silently.
For all the cries of racism and sexism, there it is right in front of your face. Anyone decrying them or they being kicked out of office? How bad does it have to be? Like, how overtly hateful can you be to white people and still get away with it and not be condemned by your own Team Blue counterparts? Because right now, the level's infinity. Right now, you can stab them in the heart and kill them in front of their own brother for the most lightest and transient of offenses, and they'll still back you up. There is a breaking point. And you got to really hope that the left starts to police their own before they get policed by a fed up opposition. We're being nice now, but our nice is not infinite. There is a scarcity. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. All right, coming up next on The James Show, James Varney from Real Clear Politics and Real Clear Investigations is going to talk about the biggest headlines here. First off, the Iran deal. Secondly, all these protests that are popping off still with the ICE facilities and the rash of graduation fights. That's not just a Texas thing. That's not just a Mesquite thing. That's happening all over the country. And we'll talk about it next. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Oh, man, I've got a news break on one of the sound bites I've been playing. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Where did I see this report? Who gets credit for this? One American News is reporting that the man who threatened to kill ICE officers said, "Family to tell your wife you're dead." They're saying he just got arrested. They're saying that guy that I was playing earlier, yeah. If you missed it, let me play the guy. Yeah, Nick Sorter got this one. This is the death threat fella.
I'll kill your whole family! Your whole family's dead! Come on! Children, your wife, come on! All dead! Touch it! My boy! I have your face, mother! You're dead! Dead!
All right, and you're in jail. Well, good. So, just had that update for you. Now, joining me, James Varney, Real Clear Politics, coming back on the James Show. Varnes, we got the update from sources within the Trump administration. Trump says the Iran talks are going swiftly right now. They're going great. Are you buying it this time, or is this just the next head fake? I think that's racist. I don't think you can say that. Right? Oh, okay. Well, I think it's like when you play basketball with your friend and he does too many head fakes. At some point, you stop jumping and then you feel stupid because that's when he actually shoots the ball. So I feel like when we completely dismiss it, like, oh, he's saying that, but there's no way he means it because we've already fallen for this 10 times. That's when we're going to get a peace deal. Well, I think we said this on the James Show before that no matter what happens, Trump's going to say it was the best deal ever, and his critics are going to say it was the worst deal ever. So that takes the fun out of it. Like, we can't have a real conversation about anything these days because it's just so poisoned with political polarization. Well, I love that conversation because if things are changing and getting worse, what is different now? And you can kind of see on like some policy differences, they're definitely different now because in the 90s, Democrats didn't say men could have a baby and now they do. That's the normal thing. So there's been some changes, but on the other side of that, Varney, I go back and think, well, are they more polarized and more lefty now? And I don't know. They were telling us the Soviet Union was a co-equal superpower up until the month they collapsed. You know, they've always been such huge hacks. It's hard to tell. Yeah, especially illegal immigration. Well, well, yeah, I hear you on that one. Let me step aside for a second. We're going to take a quick 4-minute break. We'll continue with James Varney from Real Clear Politics. I want to talk about the ICE protests that are just out of hand on a daily basis and getting almost no negative media coverage. And it definitely deserves it. That, and is there a new trend in fighting at graduations? We'll continue this conversation with James Varney of Real Clear Politics next on The James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, we got some amazing breaking news here. The Mavericks have chosen the old Valley View site for their new arena. Holy crap, holy crap. Let me read up on this. We're going to finish our conversation here with James Varney. I'll read up on it during the news break here, and I'll tell you all about it because, you know, this is going to have some reverberating effects on the tearing down City Hall drama and all that. This is amazing. I think great news. Fantastic news, actually. So I'm not quite read up on that. It just came across my dashboard. Stay put. We'll have a lot more on that in about 15 minutes after the news. But we continue with James Varney from Real Clear Politics. And Varnes, did you notice this too on your social media feed? I know we probably have a little bit different algorithms here, but mine is just full of people duking it out at graduations. And I think this might be partly my fault because I love watching videos of people fighting. And I mean non-professional people. People have no business fighting. I love amateur fighting. I like, you know, seeing how they improvise with like the furniture around them and their techniques that they just come up with on their own. And so is this just me? Is this just my algorithm? Because I went to X and I typed in graduation fight. And just this weekend, we had one here in Mesquite. There was a big one in Tennessee where they had to put a 10 o'clock curfew on the entire town. There was a big one in Columbus, Ohio. There was a big one in Atlanta, Georgia. Between this one is women. So yeah, are you noticing this too, or is this just me? Yeah, I like the people that try to explain it. They're like, well, this is their last chance to settle scores. I'm like, what are you talking about? These are adults in the crowd. What? I don't get it. No, well, some of them are kind of cute, but there's this one in Bridgeport, Connecticut, where they started throwing chairs, and I think that's when it stops being funny, you know, from a distance being funny. All right. Is there any? This is a kind of a frustrating thing because I don't think there's anything we can do about that. Do we just stop letting parents into their own kids' graduation? I mean, is there even a fix for this? Oh, I saw that one. That kind of stinks. Poor fellas. All right, we're talking with James Varney from realclearpolitics.com. You know, the protests against the ICE facility in New Jersey, I feel like this should be a top story because there's a lot going down. There's a lot of people getting arrested. There's a lot of people getting hurt. I just had the breaking news of a guy who got arrested for making death threats against an officer and his family. They are really feral about these ICE detention facilities, Varnes. Let me play it. New people are listening every second. Let me play this here. This is Nick Sorter got this audio in Newark.
Family! The whole family's dead! Come on! Children, your wife, come on! All dead! Put it! My boy! I have your face, mother! You're dead! Dead!
There you go. So that guy got arrested making, you know, actual threats there. This is the party of love, though. Remember, we were told by Bad Bunny at the Super Bowl halftime that the only thing that can trump hate is love. So. What at the protest, right? No, I think you do understand it. You just don't want to admit that they want this to happen. The local leaders, they don't just allow this to happen. This could be happening in Dallas, except we shut it down. This could be happening in Fort Worth, except we shut it down. The powers that be want that chaos. They want the law to be broken, and they're giving special privileges to not political activists, not protesters, rioters for political purposes. And if you are committing or aiding and abetting an act of violence or intimidation for a political cause, you are what, Varney? Isn't that the dictionary definition of terrorist? What's the definition of terrorism? Definite. Oh, sure, sure. But it is two allies working together to allow people to break the law that you would get in trouble for. And remember, everyone who walked through open, unlocked doors into the Capitol building on January 6th got tracked down and thrown in solitary and got a. We know we can do it, and not only are they not doing it to these people, they're, like you said, they're allowing them to camp out. They're giving them special privileges. It's a joke. And for some, right. And there's got to be some mechanism by which if the local sheriff or local cops or local prosecutors don't actually go after criminals, that's a violation of the Constitution or their, office duties or whatever the heck. Can't think of the term. But, all right, what you got coming up at Real Clear Politics? Yeah, we know about Epic City. Oh, I'm going to be all over that one. James Varney, realclearpolitics.com. Thank you very much. All right, now stay with me. I'm going to go online and I'm going to scour as much as I can find out about this new deal. Breaking news. The Mavericks have announced that they have chosen the Valley View site, the old Valley View Mall site up there at Preston and 635. That is going to be the site for their new arena, and which means not City Hall. So this is just an amazing win for the Mavericks and for the city of Dallas and for the James Show's blood pressure. All right, more details on the arena deal with the Mavericks coming up next. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. The Mavericks are going to build their new stadium at Valley View. So what does this mean for City Hall? It means they better not touch it on the James Show. That's my Yosemite Sam cussing. No, I'm James Parker, James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. But that's the breaking news of the day. In the last hour, the Mavericks announced that they are going to go on the old Valley View site, which is so amazing. That's so perfect. That's such a good spot. And it's just wide open. It has perfect access from the tollway, from 75, from 635. It's about halfway between downtown and the top of Dallas. That's a whole big, giant, unused space. It really stinks to drive past that empty area that has so much potential. I mean, Valley View Mall was awesome. I know some of y'all are transplants, but for those of you who are from here and you got to go to Valley View Mall back in the day, wasn't that the jam? For a little bit there, I worked in Valley View Mall. Just like 2 years. I worked at a vitamin store, and so I was at a bunch of different malls, but that was one of the main ones I was at. I had a key to the mall. That was great. That one in Willow Bend. That was cool. Richardson Square Mall. I was in there a few times. But I remember that was the jam. Well, we used to hang out at malls. It used to be if you wanted to go meet some of your peers of the same or opposite gender, you would actually have to go out in public and talk to them instead of just get on your phone or on some chat room. And, there used to be the arcade. There used to be the Gadzooks. There may have been an Orange Julius, depending on how old you are. But it got knocked down years ago, and I think that's just perfect. Here's a quick rundown from our friends over at Dallas Morning News. They did a quick video update on the announcement.
The Dallas Mavericks have made a massive decision about their future. After more than a year of evaluating sites, the team has selected the former Valley View Mall property for its planned multi-billion-dollar arena and entertainment district. The Mavericks have executed agreements to purchase about 104 acres at the site in North Dallas, a move that could reshape the city's sports and entertainment landscape for decades. The decision is a major setback to efforts to bring the project downtown, including proposals that could have redeveloped the current City Hall site. Team officials say Valley View was the best option to keep the Mavericks in Dallas and meet the timeline for a new arena before their American Airlines Center lease expires in 2031. And with a self-imposed July 1st deadline looming, the Mavericks had to make a decision. Plans include a state-of-the-art arena, restaurants, entertainment venues, green space, and family-friendly attractions. The project still faces zoning approvals, but the Mavericks have made their decision. They want their future home in Valley View. Do you think this is the right move for Dallas? Sound off in the comments.
All right, so then the next thing a lot of people are thinking, if you haven't already thought it, is, well, what does this mean for the City Hall debacle that they're trying to pull on us right now? And the debacle, I think a lot of people were wrongly putting in the lap of the Mavericks. I don't think the Mavericks were the ones that came to the powers that be in City Hall and it's like, hey, here's what we can do. We can knock down this building. We can give the land to the Mavericks, and then we can build a new stadium here, and we'll get a free stadium. Y'all will get to revitalize downtown. Everybody wins. They didn't. You know what that means? That means because the Mavericks didn't want that space, and they chose Valley View. That means if you combine that with the interviews that the Mavericks CEO did, I think it was 2-3 months ago, where he told he was the one that was approached by them, he was telling the truth in that interview. The people that were going to get the contracts and the politicians that were going to get to pick and choose who gets to become new multi-millionaires from these contracts. It was their idea. They hatched this plan. The same people that are making millions and millions of dollars for needlessly renovating and rebuilding the convention center. The same people that get millions and millions of dollars anytime we come up with some dumb project that takes a lot of money to pull off. So the Mavericks actually come out looking good in this. They are innocent. What we have is corrupt politicians and corrupt developers. I don't know if it's the construction guys or the guys that actually own the property where the construction is going to happen, or a cartel of both. But keeping the Mavericks in downtown Dallas was always the objective when it comes to the idea that we need to knock down City Hall. They never admitted it. They constantly lied to your face. Oh, we don't have any plans for a stadium, but we do know that there could be an economic development here that could revitalize downtown. Well, how do you know? What if they were just going to build a data center there? Would that revitalize downtown? What if they were going to build a landfill? Would that revitalize? You already know what they're going to build. So they were pretending like this wasn't a whole prepackaged scheme. Like, jeepers, we just have this building that's crumbling. We're going to have to knock it down. So what now for City Hall? Leave it alone. This whole garbage that it needs extensive repairs and upgrades, that was just a lie. Do not accept that. Tell these people to move on. We don't have enough money for cops right now. We don't have enough money to fix the potholes on I-45 downtown. We don't have enough money for all kinds of things, but we have money for tearing down City Hall and building the stadium. We got money for a $70 million practice facility for the WNBA team. We got money when it comes to getting this nightmare of an office building on Stemmons that's not even usable. So I think the corruption just hit a big speed bump that might stop one of the most just transparently fake and dishonest city projects in Dallas history. And that is the farce that we need to tear down City Hall because it's crumbling. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I am going to be very interested to see what the city leaders who are trying to pull off this nonsense are going to say next. What are you going to do now? How are you going to sell this to the people? Yeah, we're just going to tear down the City Hall. What are we going to build there? We have no plans. Hell, people keep moving out here. They can't move out fast enough. We just have another bank that announced last week that they're going to be moving out of the Comerica Tower. Was it 5/3 or 3/5 or something? They're moving out. AT&T's moving out. So good job. Good job, city leaders of Dallas. Your thoughts on the Mavericks choosing Valley View for their new site of their new stadium. 800-288-9227. This is JR in Fort Worth. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP.
Yes, sir. Hey, man, the only thing that I kind of really don't like about them moving it there, to be honest with you, I'm kind of anti-Mav since the Luka trade. But the one thing I don't like about them moving there is that they kind of pulled a Jerry and there's no mass transit. So that means they can charge whatever they want to for parking, which kind of takes the average person, kind of makes it where it's a heck of a lot harder to go to a game.
Disagree.
Used to, you could just hop on the train.
No, disagree. No, I disagree.
All right, well, I'll hang up and hear what you got to say.
Sure. So I don't know, there's such a persistent myth that we need to have a choo-choo train that drops off people right here for convenience. I've always thought, forcing the train there or forcing the stadium to build parking garages is you're taking away a business opportunity from some entrepreneur. Because in that little 104 acres or whatever it is that they're going to agree to buy, the property around that, if they don't build enough parking or enough cheap parking, if they overcharge for it, then across the street, right there across Montfort or Verity Valley or Spring Valley or Alpha is let's try to think of the road right there. Like right across the street on Alpha, one of those blocks, that would be a great place to build a parking garage. If there is a demand for it, if there is a demand for either more parking or cheaper parking, then let the private sector take care of it. Let some evil capitalist pig go invest his own millions and millions of dollars building a parking garage. And if he's right, then he will reap the rewards for it. If he's wrong, then he will pay the cost for it. Not the taxpayers, not DART, not anyone else, but the people investing and using their own money. They tend to have a much better record of success and efficiency. 800-288-9227. We are celebrating the Mavericks choosing the Valley View site for their next stadium on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. So the Mavs have announced they're going to Valley View. So y'all can take that stupid City Hall demolition plan and shove it. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. In case you can't tell, I did not like that City Hall plan where they were going to demolish it and build a stadium there. It's so stupid. Like, it's so dumb that we even are having this discussion because there's nothing wrong with the AAC as it is. It kind of miffs me that they're leaving to begin with. What is this stadium, like 25 years old? I remember when it opened. When did it open? It was 2003, I think. I remember I was working at a radio station back in the day, and one of the first concerts they ever had here was Shakira, and someone didn't claim their tickets, and so they were like, hey, you want these leftover tickets to go see Shakira? And I was like, heck yeah, I've never been to that new stadium. So I went to that new stadium, and there was such a rush of people, I just scalped the tickets and went to the bar, and so that's a 25-year-old James move right there. So what happens next? Well, I hope they stop with this whole garbage idea that we need to tear down City Hall and build something else there. I hope that big, fat, obvious lie goes away. Next, we just start a new battlefront on if they are going to build a new stadium at Valley View. Are you and me going to pay for it? Are we going to have to pay for this crap too? Because I hope we don't. That's unacceptable. But I don't even know enough to get worked up about that. I just consider this a small victory. And the fact that putting it downtown was just a dumb idea anyway. We need to revitalize downtown. Says who? Who says that's going to revitalize it anyway? And by the way, I push back on the idea that having a stadium is instant revitalization. Walk 2 blocks away from the American Airlines Center in any direction and tell me if that's a vital retail pedestrian corridor with entertainment and nightlife and all the fun stuff. You should see all of the empty leases available at the bottom of these buildings. Once you go down like little Victory Park Avenue and you get past this first 2 blocks of restaurants, there's like one called Ginya. And past that, it's all vacant, all open. In fact, I bet you within a 3-block radius of the American Airlines Center, there is more vacant retail spots on the first floor than occupied. All right, with that, Lynn in Carrollton, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP.
Hey, James, thanks for taking my call. You're on point on everything except the capitalists handling the parking. In Arlington, there are no parking lots just for people to use that aren't owned by Jerry.
Right.
They changed the zoning that if you want to use your parking lot during events, it has to have a structure with a certificate of occupancy that is used regularly.
Okay.
A cell phone store, and so you're going to see, in my opinion, you're going to see the same strategy up there around this new Maverick Center, that they want to control all the parking as much as possible.
Okay, well, the two pushbacks on that. First off, that doesn't defy capitalism at all. That fits perfectly into it. Because on the market value, if they start charging too much for parking, then either people will stop going or people will start getting rides or getting an Uber or a taxi or take a helicopter. I don't know what you're going to do, but they will find alternatives. And also, if they start charging too much and it actually does cut down on the attendance of the football games, then don't go. Then you don't have to go. You don't have to participate. And they will pay the cost from charging too much for their parking and not allowing parking to ameliorate in the immediate area.
It isn't free market. If I buy land adjacent to Jerry World and I say I'm going to make this a parking lot and that's my business, the city won't allow it. You cannot do it.
Well, that's not a fault of capitalism.
They'll fight it. No, it isn't.
Okay.
It's the fault of
zoning
capitalism.
No, well, crony socialism.
Yeah, and that's my issue with that.
Yeah. Well, see, I also hate that term crony capitalism because it's not like the cronies get the free market. No. It's crony socialism because the cronies get the government intervention into the free market. So, yeah. No, look, I don't have any problem with that, except for the zoning idiots in Arlington who are pulling the strings in favor of Jerry. But still, he has to live and die. If he doesn't allow them or the city doesn't allow them to build parking around that stadium, then they're going to pay the price if people stop going. They're going to get lower tax revenue. They're not going to get people coming in and buying dinner and whatnot. So, I mean, kind of push and pull on that, but all great discussion there, Lynn. I like the second level discussion. Greg in Burleson, you're on News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP.
James, what you hit on it right when you were coming out of that commercial. What happens to the AAC? What do they do with it?
Well, let me answer. Can I answer your question with a question?
Go ahead.
What did they do with Reunion Arena?
They knocked it down.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen.
Okay, so now your boondoggle is going to switch from City Hall over to the AAC because they're going to apply the same concept there. Oh, we got to do this. We got to revive. Look, you just mentioned it. Look at all these retail shops that are empty. Now, they're really going to be empty now. Man, we've got to get on this, people. We got to revitalize the Victory Park area. This is it. This is your new boondoggle.
Yeah, well, I'll fight that boondoggle too. Look, the smart thing would be to turn it back over to the private sector. And then some people who are worth hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, will do the market research and figure out what should go there. If they're going to be spending their own money to do it, they're going to be far more likely to be correct. And so that would be the best thing we could do. Is that what they're going to do? No, you're absolutely right. They're just going to try and do the next boondoggle. And when that comes around, we'll fight that too. That's all I can do.
Thank you, sir.
All right. No, good point, though, because Greg in Burleson is asking kind of a super important question, too. What is going to happen with this big, beautiful stadium? I was in the AAC 4 months ago. I went to a Stars game. That place is awesome. That place is not obsolete. It doesn't need to be replaced. It's not embarrassing. It's not falling apart. It's not crumbling at the seams or anything like that. There is nothing wrong with that stadium. Why are they leaving? I don't know. They say, well, we need to have a stadium that we own and control, or there's some kind of back and forth with like the revenue sharing, or I don't know what it is, but it's not smart to build this thing and then tear it down 25 years later. It just makes me want to beat my head on. The Roman Coliseum was built 2,000 years ago, still standing. AAC is going to make it 25 years? So dumb. Is this dumber than the ballpark in Arlington? We're Arlington Stadium. I get it. It's old. It's crummy. Let's build a new one. And then let's build Globe Life Field 20 years after that, 25 years after that. Same dumb thing. Just tear it down. I know it's beautiful and it's great and there's nothing wrong with it, but it's now a waste. It's just a monument of government waste. And that's probably what the AAC is going to be in about 5 years from now. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, we got to play Dead or Alive on the James Show. Today, 2 tickets to see Leonard Skinner and Foreigner at Dos Equis Pavilion, August 28th. Dead or Alive next. If you want those tickets, call in 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. All right, you're just in time to play Dead or Alive on The James Show. I'm your host, James Parker, on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP, your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. Today on Dead or Alive, Leonard Skinner and Foreigner. What? That sounds awesome. Mr. Jovi, kick us off. Hey there, welcome to Dead or Alive. Thank you, Mr. Jovi. I'm your host, James Parker. Today, we're playing for 2 tickets to see Leonard Skinner and Foreigner at Dos Equis Pavilion on August 28th. For the rest of you, get tickets and information at livenation.com. But for you people on hold, I'm about to give you 10 celebrities. You have to tell me if they're dead or alive. James, that sounds easy. It is! Today's category, Marks. Everyone is going to be named Mark in this one. Let's see, who do we start with? Nancy? Nancy in Weatherford, you're first up on Dead or Alive. You with me?
Okay. Yes, sir, I am.
How confident are you in your knowledge of Marks?
I'm pretty confident.
All right, that's a good start. Let me give you a little secret here, Nancy. This is a pretty easy list today, so just go with your gut on this one. There's no big surprises. First up, Mark Hamill. He played Luke Skywalker in the Star Wars series. Is he dead or alive?
He's alive.
He is alive. Mark Wahlberg. He did a great job in Lone Survivor. Is he dead or alive?
He's alive.
The famous author Mark Twain. Is he dead or alive?
He's dead.
Yeah, he died in 1910, so that's pretty easy call there. Mark Ruffalo. Great actor. He was the Incredible Hulk. Dead or alive?
He's alive.
Yeah, his politics are terrible. Great actor, though. Next one for you, Nancy in Weatherford. Mark Cuban. He's the former Mavs owner. Did a great cameo on Entourage, but is he dead or alive?
He's alive.
Yeah, he's only like 58. Mark Harmon from the old show NCIS. Dead or alive?
He's alive.
The Olympic swimmer Mark Spitz. Dead or alive?
I believe he's alive.
Yep, 76 years old. Would that have been a better name for Greg Louganis, or let's not talk about that?
Yeah, let's not.
Yeah, let's not. The assassin of John Lennon, Mark David Chapman is his name. Is he dead or alive?
He's dead. No, he's alive. He's alive.
What's your final answer?
He's alive.
Okay, he is alive. Are you going to let anybody else play, or are you just going to ace this whole thing, Nancy?
I'm going to try to ace this whole thing.
All right. 2 left. Mark Antony. He's a Roman consul. Dead or alive?
He's dead.
Yeah, he died in 30 BC. Just want to keep you on your toes there. And finally, the lead singer of the old band Sugar Ray, Mark McGrath. Dead or alive?
He's alive.
She ran the table. It's a perfect score. Nancy, you did the rare thing where you got 10 out of 10, no mistakes. You did have like one little stumble, but you recovered. Well done. You have just won 2 tickets to see Leonard Skinner and Foreigner, Dos Equis Pavilion on August 28th. Get tickets and information at livenation.com for the rest of us. Nancy, are you a big Skinner fan or a big Foreigner fan?
All of the above.
You taking your husband? Is that him next to you there in the car?
No, that's my 24-year-old son.
Who you taking?
I'm going to take him with me.
Oh, that makes it so sweet. Well, then, I'm glad we can make a little family vacation for you. I'm putting you on hold, Nancy in Weatherford. Good Garrett's going to get your information, and we will email you the tickets to see Leonard Skinner and Foreigner, Dos Equis Pavilion, August 28th. Now, I remember it was about 5 or... I'm old. It was 7 years ago. I went and I was at a festival in Las Vegas, and Leonard Skinner was on the bill, and I was like, do I even want to see Leonard Skinner? I mean, it's just like one of the guy's brothers, and then everyone else is in no way affiliated with the original band. But I watched it, and you know what? It's pretty damn good, actually. I was like, okay. I can say I saw Leonard Skinner. That's cool. But I'll tell you what's really cool, Nancy from Weatherford. You're still on hold over there. Leonard Skinner is the first concert and the only concert you can go to in your entire life where that old hack dude that's in the crowd actually makes sense. Because at most concerts you've been to, you've been there, and either before the concert starts or between songs, some idiot yells, "Play Freebird!" And it's kind of funny at first, and then through your concert going career, it gets like really annoying and it's kind of a hack move, and don't be that guy. But if you go to a Leonard Skinner concert, it's actually kind of a reasonable request. It makes sense there. All right, coming up on the James Show, unless there's some new info I find out about this Mavs stadium deal being announced for Valley View, unless there's something new coming up about that. I got some new audio from Bill Maher and Spencer Pratt about homeless people in California, and it's a little bit of what you suspect's going on in downtown Dallas, too. I'm James Parker. This is the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So the Mavs are going to Valley View. I think that's great. I don't know how they're going to sell the whole farce about tearing down City Hall now, but they're going to try. Look for it, and we'll probably be covering that on tomorrow's show. I'm James Parker, James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. And something else that I want to address, someone sent me the story from the DallasExpress.com about the robot dogs that are being used for security at World Cup games. FIFA has these robot dogs in Dallas. And people are a little freaked out because they have cameras on them, and it's like, hang on a second, are these things like doing facial recognition cameras? And well, look, I think the problem is these robot dogs look scary as hell. They look like a nightmare running at you. You know, they don't walk real fluid. They walk real jaggedy like a robot, and then they don't have a head on them. So it's like you cut all the head off a dog, and then you got like this little jerky robot. It's just nightmare fuel. And I think that's a bigger problem. Can we put like some fur on this thing or like a cute face or something? Because I mean, this looks like if I saw this in at my house, like if one of these walked up in my yard, I would go to the master closet, I would get my 12 gauge, and that's what I would do. I wouldn't ask it questions. I wouldn't like look for its owner. Does it have a tag? Like my instinct is to kill this thing, right? My instinct, your children are not safe around this. It's better safe than sorry. Just, you know, it's like what alligators do when some other weird animal runs up. It's like, well, we better kill this thing just because that's what we do out of an abundance of caution. What a nightmare those things are. But we're being told that no, there's no facial recognition technology on it. Whatever. All right, Spencer Pratt, running for mayor in Los Angeles, did an interview last week on Bill Maher's side podcast, not his HBO show. And he said something that you've kind of suspected about homeless people in Dallas even. Like, most of these people aren't from Dallas. And if you suspected that, you're right. I've actually spent some time talking to homeless people just really out of boredom over the 25-something. How long have I been working down here? Off and on since, like, I had a summer job in 97. And I left for a while and came back, but I don't know, almost 30 years. Anyway, you're right. Most of them aren't from Dallas. Most of them grew up in either a suburb or some of them grew up out in the country. But you come to the big city. Why? Because that's where you can live a better homeless lifestyle. That's where there's more people. Like there's not a panhandler on the corner where I live in Bug Tussle. Not because we're not generous people who won't donate. It's just because only 6 cars will go by you a day. You just can't do that. So you go to a hyper dense area where if you're a panhandler and you're asking for change, you can ask 1,000 people for change instead of just 4. And also the cops won't mess with you down here. And also they'll let you sleep wherever you want as long as it's not too inconvenient for the people around them. And also, it gives them a voting base. Also, it gives them scary crime stories so that they can pine for more control and more regulation and more gun control and more projects and more spending and midnight basketball and all these other goofy park ideas or whatever. But make no mistake, the homeless problem that's happening in Dallas and in Los Angeles is the same. It is not endemic. It is not coming from Dallas. It is being imported into Dallas.
Ready for the best part? 60% of the people in Los Angeles that are experiencing homelessness, they're ready. No, they're not from California. They've been brought here by NGOs that profit off of this homeless industrial complex. Medicaid.
Wait. They've been brought here?
They've been brought here.
Who did that?
Body brokers bring these people here.
From where?
All across the country. If you're an addict, you can come to LA and get these rehabs and use your Medicaid. You have a social security.
It's also, if you're going to be, shall we say, outdoors your whole life, it's better to be here than in Minneapolis.
100%.
You know,
so a lot of
I
these
think that's
people,
part of the attraction. I don't know if this is a big plot.
No,
Do you think this is a big...
There's a big part where this is, like, I talk to these people who are now sober, off fentanyl, off meth, and they say they got literally brought here through a rehab, trying to get off drugs. The money runs out, boom, left on the street.
Well, for some of these people, we learned from a recent conviction that they were using the preponderance of homeless people for voter fraud. They were getting these people to go register. They were getting them to fill out cards, sign them, use a fake address, and then come back, get their actual voting slip, mail-in ballots or whatever, have them sent to wherever the address they gave them to were, and they were harvesting these ballots, and they were getting hundreds and thousands of fake votes in on these local elections where hundreds of thousands of votes can swing the elections, and then selling it to the highest bidder. This was an industry for at least one lady who just got sentenced. I talked about that. I feel like that was last week. It might have been 2 weeks ago. But yeah, that's exactly what's going on down here as well. Downtown Dallas doesn't have a problem with homeless people because Dallas produces so many more homeless people. Downtown Dallas has a problem with homeless people because downtown Dallas tolerates homeless people. Nay, they encourage the outdoor enthusiast lifestyle, the urban outdoor enthusiast lifestyle, to use the term from the great Neil Bortz, which is, if you know who he is, me and you can be good friends. But make no mistake about it, this is a problem of choice. Every town that has a homeless problem can fix it immediately if they just go grab them up and throw them in jail for breaking laws that they're constantly breaking anyway. It's illegal to sleep on the sidewalk. It's illegal to pitch a tent in a public park or in some county easeway. It's illegal to panhandle. It's illegal to do a lot of the stuff that is just getting ignored right now. And all Fort Worth does is enforce the law. All they do in Buck Tussle is enforce the law. All they do in any town that doesn't have homeless people bothering you when you're walking down the street downtown is enforce the laws as they're written. So what does that mean conversely? If you're in a town that has a homeless problem, it is because the powers that be are giving special privileges to these indigent people, allowing them to break laws that you wouldn't get away with. Why? Because it suits their purpose. I mean, how could they be begging for billions of dollars of downtown revitalization if downtown didn't have a problem? 800-288-9227. Oh, I'm sorry. It's the end of the show. I was supposed to tell you, go check out the podcast. I'm super excited about this Mavs stadium announcement. If you're just joining us, Mavs announced that they're going to build their new stadium on the Valley View footprint up at Preston and 635 and not this footprint of the demolished City Hall. So that's fantastic. I can't wait to tell you more about that tomorrow. So come back on the James Show. In the meantime, stick around. Mark Levin's coming up next. I'm James Parker. This has been the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.